Badr Al-Madi, who is a professor of political sociology at the German Jordanian University. He joins us now live from Amman. Professor, really good to have you here on the program, on honor. And this is, of course, a day when Jordan is hosting this International Leaders Conference, bringing together different leaders and bodies to try to rally support for the humanitarian situation in Gaza. Just give us a sense of what do you think that this conference might be able to achieve?
My belief that this conference, it will achieve many objectives. The most important one and the most important message I think this conference will send to the Israeli government and the radical members of the government itself, saying that the world is closer to your borders, and they're telling you that you are committing a criminal acts against innocent people in Gaza, and you have to listen to the international world, to the international community, to the countries around the world who are begging you and asking you actually to stop this ongoing war against the civilian in Gaza. This is the most important, the message that the international community needs to maximize the pressure over Israeli government, as well as what happened yesterday when we talk about the National Security Council decision. All of what's happening around the world, it's sending the message after message to the Israeli government to stop this war.
Now, of course, you talk about the international community, but of course, sir, you know as well as I do that the international community is not one thing. I mean, there are so many different opinions and political considerations in different countries. We just heard about possibly Donald Trump becoming the president of the U.S. Well, that will certainly change things. Do you think that leaders such as your King Abdullah will be able to make a bigger impact coming from neighboring countries on what's happening in Israel, in Gaza? Can they actually change things just because they are, in fact, the neighbors?
Yeah, to be honest, that Israeli government is not respecting anyone, neither here in the region or around the world. But political acts and like what's happening right now in the Dead Sea in Jordan, actually, it will help a lot. And as I mentioned, maximizing the pressure over Israeli government. The neighboring country, as you know, there is a lot of cooperation between Egypt, Jordan, Turkey, Jordan, and the Gulf state to some degree with Turkey, Jordan, and Egypt. Those neighboring countries, actually, they need more and more pressure over Israel, and they have to take more action against the Israeli government. And the most important thing that we have to know that Egypt, the bordering also Israel from Gaza side, they need to maximize the pressure over Israel government to open Rafah, for example, borders. I think the neighboring country, they are very important to at least send the message for the Israeli government. We can't live with such actually behavior that the Israeli government is taking against the Israeli people. But as you know, and as you said, that Israel is not listening to anyone. But with more pressure, I think Israel absolutely has to listen, and they have to take an action towards stopping this criminal war.
Now, Professor, we also heard from your King Abdullah sounding the alarm, basically, of what's happening in the West Bank. How concerned are you about the events there? We've seen settler violence. We've seen Israeli military raids killing Palestinians. In terms of from the Jordanian perspective, how concerned are you?
Jordan, from the beginning, they were afraid, and they warned Israeli government and they warned the international community that maybe what's happening in Gaza, it could be actually apply in the West Bank. And you know that we are bordering with the West Bank, and if there is any more pressure over the Palestinian, then Jordan has to be ready to host millions of people in its country, where we already have the full package of the refugees in our country. So what's happening right now in the West Bank absolutely is not really less than what's happening in Gaza. The killing is every day. Just in 2023, we are talking about more than 500 people being killed in the West Bank. Right now, Smotrich is doing whatever he can to actually divide the West Bank and try to put more pressure over the Palestinian people, trying to push them out of the West Bank. So Jordan concerned about what's happening in the West Bank. We are so concerned here in Jordan about what's happening in West Bank. And I think the Israeli government will not hesitate to do more pressure over the people in the West Bank actually to make a push, like a flow of new waves of refugees outside of their land. And then it will be actually very easy for Israel to control over the West Bank. And this is actually in the agenda of the radical government in Israel right now.
Professor Al-Madi, thank you so much for your time. We do appreciate you coming on the program and giving us your analysis.
Thank you.